I'm James Turner. I'm an advisor with IBRS. We're an Australian advisory firm and we support organisations in the responsible and sustainable use of technology. I'm joined today by my colleague Alan Hansel. Alan, welcome.
Thanks, James.
Now, I understand you've been doing a very large study of local government IT management. Why did you do it?
Well, I wanted to find out just what the issues and concerns were of managers in local government. I wanted to find out what work practices were effective and what weren't, and what they needed to do to make service delivery more effective. And I spoke to senior managers in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia and Queensland, and from that I've been able to create a very comprehensive report, which we'll make available, and you'll find out more at the end of this presentation.
Fantastic. Well, I'm really looking forward to hearing, some of the key issues that you found. So let me move on to slide 3, and you can talk about some of the issues.
Yes, what I found was the priorities of management today, and the first two are equal, was to create a secure environment, and they want to transform their business processes. However, that is proving problematic, and I'll discuss a little more about that a bit later on, but let's assume that for the moment. Also, they need to keep their people, and naturally, in common with most other managers, they want to know how they can implement solutions on time and in budget. But transformation, which is getting a lot of media attention, unfortunately was being driven, I found, by IT management, and sometimes with the executive and management, but unfortunately very rarely by business people. And they receive very little strategic advice from the major vendors.
Wow, that sounds concerning.
Yes, and I'll cover that more in the report.
Okay, I'll go on to slide 4, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so what skills are needed and why does local government try to find them?
Well, business analysts are not only short supply for local government, but generally, but they're critical for making digital transformation initiatives effective. And that was one of the key findings from people. They also need project managers, but that's pretty common, and architects, how to find how they move from where they are now to what their future state. That's problematic as well. But the big barrier to getting people is their inability to offer competitive packages due to rate capping, and also in regional centres they find it hard to attract skilled people. And they also find it difficult, I find, to delineate between their roles, between service delivery, supplying business management services and advice, and the community.
Interesting, okay. So I'll move to slide 5 now. So what major challenges do ICT managers and local government face today?
Well, their challenge is, of course, and it's pretty common not only in local government but also in a wider context, that they've got to meet today's demands to fix up the legacy systems from yesterday. They've got pressure from their staff who are working excessive hours. They've got the executive saying, we want you to reduce your spending and do more. And of course, the business people are saying, give us better business systems to work with so it can be more effective. And we've got the community today, which is far more IT literate than it was 10 years ago, saying we want more online services. We want you to help us to do things faster, particularly for property developers.
Interesting.
So the challenge is to ride the tightrope.
Okay, well, let me move on to slide 6. So based on those challenges, what's your advice to ICT managers? Well,
to clearly understand their role, and their role is in supply. Do that well to keep the job. That means, unfortunately, also it means they were shaping the client expectations. So there's a lot of need to walk the talk with the business managers. And of course, they've got to supply the services and give them the information that's needed to run the organisation. But of course, the business managers are those who have to generate the demand. They've got to justify the investment in IT because it's in part conjunction with their own business process changes, and they should be tracking and publishing the benefits so that more funds can be made available when needed. Unfortunately, many CIOs, I find, move over into the demand space and they dilute their effectiveness by doing so.
That's got to have a big impact. So I'll move on to slide 7 now. And we hear a lot about business and IT transformation today. So how's this taking place in local government?
Well, it's very patchy. I'm finding that in the small councils, it's very difficult to get head of steam in this area. In larger councils, not so much so. And unfortunately, the priority for many organisations is to keep IT spending intact. And I found the average spend was 3.5% of revenue, but 45% of the organisations I spoke to were lower than 3.5%, which means they're not getting enough. If the funding's low, then I suggest to people, senior managers, that they use this survey response to highlight how low it is compared to their peers and point out some of the risks, particularly from security. And I also found that some organisations were giving one-off funding for the transformation program, which I really encourage.